Cool. Hey guys, I'm Andrew StoneCypher. I'm a artist and designer at Universal Parks and Resorts Global Merchandise. I was a Ringling grad in 2017, and I'm excited to be here with you guys, answer any of your questions, share some of my advice, what my journey, entailed getting to the professional level, and just sit here and talk with you guys for a little bit.
Awesome. Yep. Say hello.
Hello. I can't see you guys, but I envision a whole CJ class full of kids. So
yeah.
Cool.
So do you want to start off by showing and telling your work, or should we start off with an interview?
Whichever you guys like. I can show you my work, so at least you know where I'm coming from and my background and stuff like that, if that works.
That works perfect. So let's do it that way.
Cool. Let's do that. Let me pull it up real quick. So like I said, while I'm pulling this up, I'm an artist at Universal Parks and Resorts. So you'll probably have seen a lot. I only have 4 pieces I'm going to show for different reasons. All of this is owned by Universal Parks and Resorts, and it's all our own property. So I didn't choose anything that's licensed or any of our partners' work right now. But I'm pretty sure if you're a Halloween Horror Nights fan, you've seen some of this stuff this year. So let me go ahead and full screen.
They like it, Andrew.
Good. So here is I just have 4 pieces I'm going to run through, and the reason I picked just 4 is each one of these 4 is drastically different style, and that's kind of something that I wanted to convey to you guys, is being able to be diverse in styles and versatile. So this is the first piece I'm going to show you. This is one of our big pieces of artwork for Halloween Horror Nights this year for our big 30th event. And this piece ended up being one of my favorite designs I've ever created for multiple reasons. It was something new that I've done. And, I just love how it turned out. I love the characters. I love the old circus time feel. And it was a challenge for me. It was something that I've never done, which is very important. When I was a Ringling student, I took a lot of pride in always trying to do something new every project. I wanted to always do something diverse. And, I loved cartoons and I loved character design, and I always wanted to do character design, but I knew in my portfolio that it would look really good if I had a little mix of everything, so whoever was going to, recruit me or come look at my portfolio could see that I can do a little bit of everything. So you're going to see that in these 4 pieces I'm going to show you. And if you have any questions when I'm showing these, or you just want a cool fact or, little nugget of information, let me know. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. So here is the first one. And then here is the second one. Like I said, drastically different in style. I'm going from full color, RGB palette, to just a one color, with some gray gradients in it, but drastically different. And,
we're not able to see the second one.
What's that?
We're not able to see the second one.
Oh, you can't see this one?
We can see the first one, the clown, but we can't see the second one.
You can't. Sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front. All right, let's see.
And like this one right here, the clown one, we can see it. We can see live on stage. We can see all new death-defying acts.
Okay, let me.
But we can't see. It looks like the clown has his hand reached out. We can't see below that.
Okay, I am sorry about that. Let me see. It's telling me sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front. So let me see what I can do. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to reshare for you.
Yeah, there we go.
Can you see the full thing now?
We can see the full thing now.
Okay, I'll go. Can you see the full thing of this one?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Sorry about that, guys. I went on my whole spiel and didn't know you couldn't see the full artwork. So like I said, if you have any questions on any of these, let me know. I'll be happy to answer anything. So I'll let you kind of look at this one for a second, and then I'll move on to the next one.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How much freedom or art direction did you get with this specific?
That's a good question. With this one, a little bit. It depends. Like I said, what licensed partner we're working with, depending on how much direction or freedom I'll get. This property in general is a Universal Parks and Resorts created character. So the freedom I would have on this is much greater than, say, a Harry Potter licensed product or something like, or any of those products. So for this, basically, I was told by my creative director, hey, we want a big commemorative piece for the 30th year. It's with Jack the Clown, so we want it circusy and go from there. And that was about it. 1 or 2 sentence direction, and this is what I came up with. So yeah, but we do the same thing at a professional level that you guys are doing in class. We start with different thumbnails. We go from the thumbnails to the loose sketch, and then from the tight, and then get these approved all along the way. And then once we have a nice tight sketch, we go to full render.
So how long did something like this take from, say, start to finish?
So this piece in particular is probably one of my most detailed and Photoshop heavy pieces I've ever done. So this one, you're probably looking at from start to finish, maybe 10 days, something like that, with probably juggling other things in between here and there. If something comes back with revisions and we need it done ASAP and it's going to China or something like that, I may have jumped on that and taken a break on this for a couple hours a day, but roughly I'd say 10 days.
Awesome.
So we'll jump to the next one. You can see this one, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So like I said, diversity and versatility. That's why I wanted to show you these back to back, because you're doing a 180 basically. You're going for full color render to, a one color design. It's got some gray gradients in it, like I said, but it's drastically different. And that's something, like I said, I started doing, at Ringling, really I'd probably say junior year. I'd probably say that's when I really got the fundamentals down, and I wanted to start exploring different styles. I thought it was important to keep within one style while I was learning the basics, shadow, rim light, the whole 9 yards. But once I got that down, I said, what, I'm going to start seeing if I can translate this to different, styles and ways to design. And that's where it kind of started from. So do you have any questions on this one in particular?
So a student is asking, is this done digitally or traditionally?
Yes, digitally. 100% of my work is digital. I started that in Ringling. 100% of my work from probably second semester of sophomore year in illustration was all digital. I to be honest with you, I never really clicked with traditional personally. I always saw things digitally. And so everything I do now is digital, 100%. Photoshop, I'd probably say 80% of my work is done in Photoshop, and then 20% is done in Illustrator, just, grabbing pieces if I'm doing line work for a character design, or if I need some hard vector shapes or something like that, I'll grab them in Illustrator. Or a lot of times I use both programs together, to be honest. I'll do something in Illustrator, bring it into Photoshop because it's so clean and I couldn't get that crisp of a line in Photoshop, and then I'll combine the two.
Nice.
So I'll go to the next one. And here's another style. So this, like I said, kind of to start off with, my passion was always character design. Going into Ringling, I actually wanted to do animation. I wanted to be an animator. And I actually took pre-college with Prochnow, and he was my B day, and my A day was computer animation. And I'm really glad I had that experience, because I learned that animation wasn't going to be for me. It just wasn't clicking, but I still loved the character aspect of the job. So I've always had a love for character design, and that's something that I'm really lucky and blessed to bring to Universal. And they're happy to have me design, some of the old characters, Frankenstein, Creature from Black Lagoon, Chucky, in my, unique style. And that's something I was able to do this year for Halloween Horror Nights.
Awesome. And were some of these made into toys and
products? Yes. Yes. So I'll kind of touch on that too. I'm a massive, you can kind of see a couple of my pieces here. I'm a massive toy collector. I love it. It's a passion for me. And so anytime I can create toys at Universal, it's my favorite thing. So these guys were actually created as a 6-piece blind box set. You never knew who you were going to get, and they just took off. I'm sure some of you guys may have seen them or may own them. And the fans just absolutely love them. I'm really happy with how they came out. And like I said, anytime I can translate my own character design into a real 3D toy, it's just awesome. There's no other feeling like it.
Awesome.
So I will go and then I'll go to the last one. So this is, another style. And so we started off with, a lot of realistic imagery, photos mixed with graphics. We went to then one color design. We then went to super, super stylized character design. And now we're going with more of a hand-drawn semi-comic kind of feel with this piece. This was actually done to commemorate some of the best haunted houses we've had at Halloween Horror Nights for the past 30 years. And this was a annual pass holder exclusive. So if there's any UAPs in your class, they may have seen this at some point. And this was a monster piece too. This is right up there with the first one as far as taking 10 days to 2 weeks to render.
So with something like this, and even the others, I see a lot of text.
Yeah.
How much control do you have over the text? Is that something that you do, or do you work in conjunction with other designers, or is this like all you?
Yeah, so that's actually a good question. For this one in particular, you're going to see a lot of logos in the middle. Those logos I did not create. Those are marketing logos that we've had over the years that were, in brochures, on, commercial campaigns, on the outside of the haunted houses. So those logos have just been collected over the years. But in general, for text, like if you look at the Halloween Horror Nights logo at the top, or you look at any text on any other designs, that's 100% me. We're very lucky at Universal Parks and Resorts merchandise that we do 100% of our designs. So we create the sketch, we do all the thumbnails, we render it, we put it on all the product piece types, which means we break the artwork down to fit on a mug, to fit on a keychain, to fit on a t-shirt. We do everything. We don't touch, like there's 3 designers in my department, and we all stay on our own pieces. So we don't share designs. If somebody needs help, we'll definitely help. We're a very tight group. I love the other designers, like designers, like they're my family. But if we start a piece, we finish a piece. There's no, one person does line work, one person, does the painting, one person puts on product piece type. It's 100% ours each time.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and those are kind of just the 4 pieces I wanted to pick. I didn't want to spend too much time on my work. I wanted to, if you guys have questions or anything, answer those, of course. But I wanted to at least give you, a nice sample size of what I've done, what you may have seen in the parks, and 4 really different, pieces stylistically that will just get you thinking, what other styles do you want to try? Do you want to be a more versatile artist? Is there something that, and it's scary a little bit, because you're going to go, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can render that, but, just collect a ton of reference. Reference is key. Every project I do, I have a folder of 100 images, and, just look at that and break it apart and go, how did they do this? How did they do this shadow? How did they render this face? And when you break it down that way, you'll surprise yourself. And let me tell you, when you do something that you don't think you can do, it's the best feeling in the world. It gives you so much confidence. So they are.
Very cool. Thank you, Andrew.
And actually, you know what? I've one more thing, if I can share it, that I wanted to. Can you see this?
I see you, but I do not see any.
Okay, let me see if I stop sharing. Let me see here. Go back to share screen. Let me open it up. Can you see this piece here?
Yes, we can see that piece.
Okay, so one reason I wanted to show this to you guys is this was the piece on the left was a piece that I did probably around the same year you guys are in now, probably sophomore year and in 2013. And I wanted to show you this to you because, like I was just saying, you know, when I was you never know where you're going to be in 5 or 6 years. When I was doing this piece on the left in 2013, I thought it was amazing. You know, and you learned, I think the most important thing that you guys can learn as an artist is to learn to judge and critique your own work. And, you know, you'll soon come to see, and you may have already realized this, you know, what work you do is good and what work you do maybe needs some help, because at first everything you do looks really good. But once you start looking at reference and you start really getting good critiques and stuff like that, you'll get a better scope and vision of professional work. So what I wanted to really, you know, share with you guys this is, you may be looking at the designs I sent you, all the Halloween Horror Nights designs, and going, holy cow, like, you know, that's so much detail or whatever, but you can get there. I was in your same shoes. I did this piece on the left in 2013, and here we are, you know, 6 or 7 years later, and I just did the one on the right. So whatever you want to do, whatever goals you have in mind, you can get there, but you got to work for it. You know, it's not just, you're not going to wake up, you know, one morning and your skill set will be amazing. You know, you gotta work really hard on it. You gotta get good advice from your instructors, good advice from your peers, and you gotta want it. If it's a dream of yours, you can do whatever you want. So that's what I really wanted to share with this and show you that I was in your same shoes at one point in time. I sat in that same classroom. I had, you know, Prochnow, I had all your other instructors. And, you know, I worked really hard and you know, I learned, and that's what's really important.
Very cool. So I wanted to ask you some questions and kind of get some more input from you.
Yeah.
Specifically, you went from the transition from a student to professional. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering what the differences are, say, in the classroom that you've experienced from working in a professional studio environment.
Okay. Yeah, good question. To be honest with you, the transition was pretty good. I mean, there was really no obstacles. I mean, I'll go ahead and say I was blessed and, you know, lucky enough to have the internship between my junior and senior year. So between my junior and senior year, I was an intern with Universal Parks and Resorts Merchandise. Same position, same office, same computer, same everything that I have now. So I was really lucky enough and blessed to see that studio experience and see that corporate atmosphere before I graduated. So when I did get the job after, you know, I graduated my senior year, I was going in there with knowledge and with experience, and it was comfortable to me. And what I'll share is, you know, I had a Cintiq of my own, and I had all these things, and I was kind of mentally preparing myself for what a professional atmosphere would be. So when I did graduate, it was a smooth transition. So I do everything now the same way. I use the same Cintiqs you guys are using. It's all the same. I'm just with a great group of people in an office instead of a classroom, basically.
Great. So getting a job and going through the interview process and applying for a bunch of different companies, like I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
What was your mindset and what was your preparation for that?
Yeah, good question. So, you know, I think we all have that dream job, right? We all have that, you know, like you used to say, A, B, C, and D, and we all have that A job that we dream about at night and we just hope it's going to happen. And growing up, I was always a big theme park and animation fan, and I knew that's where I wanted to work one day. So I always had those jobs on my mind, right? And those were always the first ones that I applied for, and what I kind of tailored my portfolio to before my internship, right? So there's kind of a tale of two journeys here, is before my internship and after my internship. before I was, trying to figure out what I wanted a little bit. And then after I was full steam, I had been at Universal. I wanted nothing else. I just wanted to go back, basically. So before my internship, it was just, how can I create the most professional portfolio for an internship, for a recruiter that I can? And, what I'll say is professionalism goes a long way, guys. Like, you may not be the most talented artist in your classroom. There may be somebody more talented than you, but if your portfolio is well put together and it's professional and you have a good interview and you follow up and your resume and cover letter are clean, you're probably going to get the job over the person next to you that's maybe more talented, but they're missing pages in their portfolio, or they didn't have a good interview, or maybe, they were late to the interview. You're probably going to get it if you're professional, because whoever's recruiting you, they're bringing you into their life, basically. And they want to look good just as much as you want to look good. So they're going to bring somebody in that's professional and, can live in that office atmosphere. Now, I'm talking more about commercial, obviously, if it's freelance, different story. But so what I would do is like I said, I tried to create a very versatile portfolio. I looked at the internships that the recruiters that were coming to Ringling, and I said, which ones do I like here? Which ones do I think would fit me? I didn't apply to everything, because I wanted a good match. I wasn't going to apply to something that, I didn't think I would really succeed at. So that's basically what I did. I looked at, who's coming and, what fits me the best. As look at my style, look at their, the products they produce. And that's kind of what I did. And then, I just tried to create the cleanest, most professional portfolio, get there early, meet them, go up to them after their, their presentations in the AC building, meet with them before the interview so they remember you when you come back. And it's just all about networking and stuff. So I just try to follow the process. And those are kind of things I did. And I'm blessed it worked out.
Great. So you're talking about, or you talked earlier about like your skill set and traditional versus digital.
Yeah.
What advice might you have for students or artists that just haven't quite found their thing yet? Or maybe like you had an internship and that shaped your direction, but what if they're not able to get that internship? Where do they go for input and advice, and how do they make that portfolio without that input that say you received?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said a few minutes ago, it all goes back to what you enjoy. What do you enjoy outside of art? Do you enjoy animation? Do you enjoy, comic books? Do you enjoy toy collecting? What do you enjoy? Because ultimately you want to get somewhere where work is not work necessarily. It's fun. I am privileged enough to have that experience. I go to work and I create toys, I create merchandise, but that's what I enjoyed before I even got to Ringling, right? So I wanted to do something I enjoy. And that's what I would recommend is, what is your passion? What do you love to do outside of Ringling? And translate that into Ringling. If you love animation, obviously you're going to, want to do kind of character design stuff. Or if you love comic books, you're going to do comic books. So, and it's so easy for things to click and be motivated and to want to do good work when you're doing what you enjoy. So, if you're struggling to find what you kind of want to do as a career, I would say, what is your passion? And that will spark a lot of ideas. You can come up, if you're doing a project on something you love, you're going to have 10 times more thumbnails cranked out than if it's something you don't really enjoy, because you're not going to want to do it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely answers the question. So,
Perfect.
I want to open it up to the students. Do you guys have any questions for Andrew? Anything that you'd like to hear him speak about? The question was, they were hoping you could talk about your internship a little.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my internship, like I said, same position that I have now, just as an intern. It was the first intern that Parks and Resort, Universal Parks and Resorts merchandise ever had. So it was a little bit of a new experience for them and for me. And what I did was I basically acted as a full-time designer. My creative director, I am so lucky and blessed to have him because he just kind of let me rip. He goes, we're opening up Volcano Bay. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of it, water park at Universal, and we need all new merchandise. And this is what you're going to kind of work on. And so I spent 3 months developing actual merchandise for Volcano Bay that I almost did the full product assortment on opening day, and a lot of it's still there. And so my internship was just, earning the respect and the trust of, my coworkers at first, them kind of learning a little about me stylistically and what I can do. And then, as my internship went on, I got more and more thrown at me. So, I started off with maybe just little logo design or, toss patterns or something like that. And then by the end that I left, I was doing full-blown, illustrations. And I cannot, I really can't preach enough about how big of an opportunity an internship is. I mean, you have no idea how much you're going to learn and how much they're going to push you in an internship. I went into my internship only doing character design, basically. Now, I was doing character design in full illustration, so I was still doing kind of like t-shirts and stuff, but it was very stylized. It was character design style. And when I got there, my creative director told me basically, it's great, but I want you to grow as an artist. And that's really where I sat down and I learned from the other designers on how to render realistically, how to use the airbrush properly, how to do all these different styles that I didn't think I'd ever be able to do in a million years, to be honest. But when you see it done in front of you and when you can learn from a professional and be in that atmosphere, it just, there's no other, education like it. You just grow and learn so much. So, I really can't, preach enough to you guys that, internships are super important. I know they're really difficult to get. I don't want to sound like, they're just handing them out. I know they're hard to get, but if you are lucky enough to get one, you'll be on the right track for sure. And you'll come back your senior year just, so much more diverse and versatile. And, it really sets you up for when you graduate, you'll be so much more ahead.
Awesome. Any other questions? So I had a question.
Yeah.
It kind of goes into one of the things that you were talking about. So you definitely learn a lot in school, in art school.
Yeah.
But like for me personally, it seems like the learning became accelerated when entering a professional environment. Mm-hmm. Could you touch on that, why you think that happens, or even your personal experiences with that happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to start off just by, telling all your students, listen to, Mr. Prochnow, listen to your other instructors, because, they've all been where you're trying to get, right? They all have decades of experience. They've been freelancers. They've been in the commercial art industry. They know what they're talking about. So, I definitely listen to your instructors first and foremost, because I was put under a couple instructors. They put me under their wing and they really looked out for me. And, Mr. Prochnow and Octavio Perez and Gary Barker and Ken Sperduso are I still keep in touch with all of them, because I can honestly say without all of those instructors in my years of Ringling, I would not be where I'm at now. So definitely learn as much as you can from all of them. When you leave the, college atmosphere and you go to professional level, it's going to explode. You're going to be now in a whole environment full of some of the best designers and artists in the industry. and everybody has a different way of doing something. So I found I had to kind of watch a couple different designers to see what was going to click with me, because everybody renders differently. Everybody has different brainstorm techniques. Everybody does, the process differently. So you need to see what works best for you. You may be trying something that's just, you keep hitting a wall, ask around, see what somebody else does to come up with good brainstorm ideas, or see what somebody else uses as a brush to render an object, or how they render it. Maybe they use this technique first before this one, and experiment and see what works best for you, because everybody's different. Now, when you get to the professional atmosphere, like I said, you're around some of the best artists and designers in the world. And when you're put into that group, you just grow, and it just helps you grow because you're in a professional atmosphere. It's kind of tough to explain a little bit, but when everybody around you is successful and really talented and, really creative, it makes you more creative. It makes you more talented. You get more successful. So you get put in an atmosphere that just helps you blossom, without you really knowing it, because everybody's so creative and talented around you. Now, like I said, your instructors have been there. They've done all this. So they will help you share. Obviously, I know you're trying to convey your experience and your journey with them, but everybody's different. So, pick the different instructors' minds, see what works best for you. Maybe one has a little bit more experience in the path that you want to go down, and see what they have to say. And when you get to the professional level, I'm telling you, you're just going to become such a better artist. You're going to be able to design and render something that you never knew you would be able to do. And it feels really good, because at that point, all the hard work is worth it. All the 4 years of projects you guys have done, and all the assignments that you didn't want to do but you had to anyways, it's worth it when you finally get there.
So preparing for an interview, that's something that I remember as a student, as a professional, practicing for those interviews. Many students in this class are sophomores. I believe we have some juniors.
Okay.
And they're going to be interviewing with companies soon. So what advice would you have for them to prepare for that?
Absolutely. I would say, don't be intimidated. Everybody you're going to be interviewing with, they're normal people. They have families. They're the same as your parents or your friends or anything like that. They're normal people. So don't be intimidated. Yes, they may have a really high position at a company, or, they're going to be ultimately the one determining if they're going to bring you into their environment. But at the end of the day, they're people. And that's really important to tell yourself, because it'll calm you down. I went into every interview just kind of telling myself, I know what I can bring to the table. This is my portfolio. The interview is now time for me to tell them who I am as a person, right? They've already seen my artwork. So I want to wow them with, you can put me in an environment where I'm going to be a team player, because that's super important. They're going to want you to work with everybody else in the in the atmosphere, in the environment. So you want them to learn that you're a team player as a person, and that you're accountable, and they can trust you, and that they can respect you. And you just want to grow, in that 5 or 10 minutes that you have the interview, you want to grow just a little bit of their trust. Because if they leave the interview trusting you, then that's what you want. And so I would just say, definitely be respectable, definitely treat them like they, are somebody that is very important, because they are, but also just understand that they are people at the end of the day. And, just act normal, act casual, and just, go in there and talk to them and impress them and earn their trust for 5 or 10 minutes.
Awesome. That's great advice. All right, class, do you guys have any questions?
Ask away. If it's not art related, we can talk theme parks if you want.
All right. Okay, the question is, they're hoping to see some more pieces from you. Do you have anything?
They're hoping they can see some more pieces from me. So when you work with licensed partners, you have to kind of walk on eggshells sometimes. And I know you understand that. But
Yeah.
so I would say if you want to see more pieces from me and you want to see more of my work, I do post a lot of it on social media, the stuff I can post. I didn't bring that much more here because, certain reasons. But I do post a lot of it on social media. So what I want to say is if you want to give me a follow, Andrew StoneCypher on all accounts, and feel free to message me and ask me questions. If you think of a question, when you get home, or if you're working on something and you have a question about anything, about internships, about interviews, about, Cintiqs, about any of that, feel free to ask me. And I post a lot of my stuff there. So, I'm blessed and lucky enough to work on some of the coolest properties, in the world. I work on Harry Potter, I work on Halloween Horror Nights, I work on, Minions and E.T. and Jaws and Back to the Future. And, it's such a long list to name. Some of that stuff I can share and some of that stuff I can't share. So if you want to see more, I would say check me out on either Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, stuff like that.
Okay. But I can give it to you after because I've got it on my phone. I'll make sure I'll make sure they get it.
Yeah. Sorry, I would love to show you everything. I really would. But I know you understand when you work with licensed partners, some stuff you didn't make, the company made. So.
So I do have one more question. Specifically about designing toys and actually seeing them through to production.
Of course.
How does that work, and how much control do say you have over the final look of the toy that's being designed?
Yeah. Okay. I'll speak to my experience and my journey. It's probably different than a lot of other companies and stuff like that, but I'll kind of start from ground zero, and I'll use my Halloween characters that I showed you a little bit ago as kind of an example. Just so I will come up with the character design of the characters, and maybe at that point when I come up with the character design, we don't know if we're going to create figures necessarily or not. An important piece of knowledge really is sometimes people don't know what they want until they see it, and you can use that in your classes now. Is it maybe you have a really good idea and you don't know if your instructor is going to buy off on it because it may not make sense verbally. Do something visually to sell them on it. And that's what I do a lot is some of the best ideas can't be conveyed visually, and you do them verbally, and you do them visually. So that may have how that started. So I did the character designs. Then they go, okay, cool. We want to do 6 blind box figures of these characters. So then from that standpoint, I do turnarounds, right? Just like you guys are doing or will be doing in visual development, or may have done. You do turnarounds. Based on my schedule of work, I'm usually pretty busy. I have somebody else that sculpts the figures in ZBrush or Blender or whatever they may do. So simultaneously, I can work on something else in the program. I may be doing a T-shirt or a pin or a lanyard at that point in time, or the packaging. Sometimes I do the packaging while they're sculpting the figures, and they'll send me updates like, okay, here's the initial shape, and it's super rough, but I can see, the outline, and I'll do red, like ink layovers in Photoshop, basically, like, please make this a little more round. Let's expand this, stuff like that. Goes back to them. We go back and forth like that. Maybe it depends, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times until I'm ultimately satisfied with it. And that's kind of how that works. Is every pass they do, they'll send it to me. I put it in Photoshop. I draw all over it because I know the character, so well, and I'll send it back to them, and then they'll send it back to me again. So in that instance, we did it for 6 characters. Now, when that's done, when we finally say, okay, awesome, I love the sculpt, you love the sculpt, let's go, then, it'll kind of disappear for a little bit. It might disappear for a month or 2 months because they're creating basically the mold for it, right? They have to get something that you can actually hold in your hand now. They'll send me that. It's usually white or gray or, clear sometimes. And I'll say, okay, yeah, it looks great. Or there's a seam right there. Can we somehow change that? Once I like the first mold, they'll do the paint master. they'll paint it, and usually that takes a couple revisions as well. I'll go, well, this isn't translating like it did digitally, or it's a little sloppy. Let's just, take out some of the detail or take out some of the color. And it's a big process, when you're creating a physical figure from your digital character design, you got to compromise a little bit. It's never going to come out exactly how it did digitally. So after we agree on a paint master, okay, this looks great. And in most of my instances, it depends. It then has to get approved by the licensor. So, I can say I love it all day long. It looks great. Let's go. But if the licensed partner, so when I say licensor, it means whoever holds the brand. So, I'll use, the Incredible Hulk, for instance. It has to go to Marvel, and Marvel then has to approve, okay, yeah, we like this, or it needs changes. So like I said, I can love it all day long, but if Marvel has changes, those have to be made. So let's just say all parties love it. It looks great. The paint master is approved. Usually you have to do this with the box too. So they'll show you the box. Box is a lot easier because it's full color print, stuff like that. And they'll send you a sample. So once I get a sample, it may come from China, it may come from California. It depends what I'm making. I'll look at it and I'll go, this is one of one. One usually only exists, or maybe two if they sent one to the licensor as well. And I'll go, this looks awesome. Let's go. So then it's approved. It goes to the factory. You're not going to see it for 3 or 4 months sometimes, and then it shows up on the shelf and there's 10,000 of them, and it's amazing. It's awesome, because then in my job, I do a lot of work and then I don't see it for a long time. I cannot see it for a year, and when you do finally see it, it's the best feeling in the world, because then you see it on Twitter and you see people wearing it. You'll be walking in the grocery store, you'll be at Publix, and you see somebody wearing your t-shirt, and you want to go up to them so bad and say, you're wearing one of my designs or something, but you don't want to be a creep at the same time. So, it's the best feeling in the world when you see, so I know you've probably seen people wearing your Ron John stuff or your hard rock stuff. And, you just kind of have to bite your lip and go, okay, this is really cool. Other people are now spending their money on what I designed, because that means a lot to me. When somebody spends their hard-earned money on something I designed, that's really cool. It means a lot. And you may have been cursing and may have been so mad when you were making that design because it wasn't going the way you wanted, or there was a revision that you had to do. But when you see it in person and you see somebody holding it or owning it, you forget about it. You forget all about the arguments or the frustration you had, and it makes it all worth it. One example is, for my figures I made, I didn't make them for kids necessarily. I said, this is Halloween Horror Nights. Usually, teenagers and up go to the event. And it's been so surprising to me, because I'll see little 2 or 3-year-olds on social media playing with the characters. And it's so cool to me, because I said, I didn't design these for kids, but they love them. So I'll see the kids enjoying them. I'll see teenagers. I'll see, grandparents. Everybody enjoys them. And when you see that, I just can't explain the feeling. You guys will know it one day, and it's the best feeling in the world.
Nice. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a student that is really wanting to ask a question.
Okay, go for it.
I'm not desperate.
Okay.
Lay it on me. Let's hear it.
I was just wondering, what pieces have you put in your portfolio? Because
Do you want to come over here and ask? So I'm gonna bring him over here.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
What's your name?
My name's Sophia. But it's complicated these days.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. I was just wondering what piece I guess would be ideal to put in a portfolio, like when applying to those jobs, or at least internships specifically.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say tailor your portfolio to who you're applying to. Yeah. That being said, you can't tailor your portfolio to everybody, right? So it kind of goes back to what I said, to apply to who you think would work best for you and would, vice versa. So I'm sorry, it's a little dark in here. The sun keeps changing. So what I would do, say if you're applying to a greeting card company, put in your portfolio what you think they would like to see in a greeting card. They are hiring you to work in their business, right? So you may have something new that you can bring to them, but they also want to see how you're going to fit in their atmosphere, right? So, if you're applying to an animation studio for character design, then you're probably going to want to put character design in there. Now, I would say put, one or two items in there that may surprise them, that they go, wow, we don't have somebody on our team that can do this. They can do what we need them to do, and they can do something that we don't have yet. That's a great thing. And that's what I always try to do in my portfolio. But, I want to go to a character design interview and submit my character design portfolio with all, abstract, oil paintings, if that makes sense. I would tailor it to who you're applying to, because ultimately they're needing somebody to do a certain job. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
It's pretty obvious, actually.
Sometimes it is obvious. And like I said, you would be surprised. A really, really professional portfolio and a really good verbal interview can beat out talent a lot of times. Talent is only 50%. You can be the most talented artist in the world, but if you're late to the interview and you got ripped pages, or you're missing pages, or your portfolio's in shambles, and this person over here is a little less talented, but they came out here on time, and their interview is great, and they got all their contact information, they've got a website, and they've got business cards, and they met up with you before the interview and reached out to you after the interview, they're going to get the job.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's another question. Okay, you gotta speak up, because
How would you speak to them before the interview?
okay, so the question was, how would you speak to them before the interview? And
Yeah.
like you're a sophomore, correct? Okay, so their experience so far has been COVID, so it's different.
Yes.
It's different than
Totally
your
understand.
experience.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah. It'd be rough. I mean, I've talked to a number of, my classmates at Ringling, and we do feel really bad for, what you guys are going through with COVID, or what you did have to go through COVID, because it takes that personal interaction out of things, when you don't get to see them in person and talk to them in person and go to all these lectures and stuff in person, it's different. So as we get out of COVID, I'll speak to that side of things, because I didn't experience what you guys are experiencing, so I don't really have advice to tell you, unfortunately. But hopefully when all this clears up and everything gets back in person, hopefully soon, what I would say is, usually I believe I remember when I submitted my portfolio for interviews, most of the recruiters had some sort of presentation before you interviewed with them, right? Sometimes you knew if you were getting an interview during the presentation. Sometimes you didn't find out until after. But regardless, either way, after the presentation, if the recruiter is there and you applied for the interview, go up and talk to them. Go up and introduce yourself. If you have a business card, go give them a business card. Now, if they're not there in person and you're applying for something that's not on campus, reach out to them on social media. Like I said, we're all people. I have a Facebook, I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, just like you guys do, just like all these other, recruiters do, because we're normal people. So send them a message on there. The worst they can do is not respond or not open it. They're not going to hunt you down because you sent them a message. And, best case scenario, they reply back to you. They say, hey, this is what I would do if I was in your situation. And you get some good advice from it. But at least they know your name at that point, and they know that you're hungry for it, and you're doing something that maybe the person next to you isn't doing, which is not reaching out to them, which is not going up and meeting them. If you meet them, or if they know your name and then they see your portfolio or they see you in person, that's 2 times that they've seen you then. And the more times they recognize your name and the more times they see your face, it's a home run. It's all about networking, guys. And that's what I would really kind of push to you. Does that answer your question?
Said yes.
Cool.
So any other questions, class? All right, what's your question?
So for the jobs and the projects that you take on, are they like, how many jobs do you have a year? Do you like stay in the same position, or?
Did you catch that?
Yes. So everything I do is all, well, okay, let's rephrase this, because you always do something new. 98% of my job is for Parks and Resorts merchandise at Universal. So that includes every gift shop, every hotel gift shop, every store in Orlando, Hollywood. I do a lot in Japan and our new Beijing, Universal Studios Beijing park, Singapore. I do stuff for those parks too, because I'm on the global team, right? So that's the umbrella that I'm under. So every day could be different though. Like I said, I do artwork there's three of us. So there's three guys that do all the artwork for the parks. And we kind of divvy it up just by, who's not working on something. So we do everything: t-shirts, toys, lanyards, buttons, pins, mugs, anything that you can purchase, we do the artwork for. So, in a single day, it depends what I'm working on. I could be working on 3 or 4 different IPs or intellectual properties. I can be working on Minions. I can be working on Harry Potter. I can be working on Halloween. I can be working on Mardi Gras in one single day, which is great because it's always something new. I'm blessed to have a job where it's always something new. I'm not working on one particular piece for 3 or 4 years. So to answer your question, it's always something different, but it's always merchandise related, right? Yeah. So yes and no.
I was just wondering, because what I'm worried about is that if I become an illustrator, more or less like a freelance illustrator or something different, then I'm gonna have to like switch jobs every few months.
So they were concerned with having to switch jobs every few months if they become an illustrator.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I have never been. I do freelance on, in my personal time, right? So I've always had my job at Universal. I've never had any other job. And that was something that was important to me, right? We all have different goals and we all know what we want differently. Sometimes freelance works for some people and it doesn't work for others. I really enjoy the commercial art industry. I like going to work, 9 to 5 every day. And when you leave, you leave work at work, right? You come home and you spend time with your family, or you play video games, or you mow your grass or whatever, and work is at work, and it's going to be there when you get there at 9, 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's what I enjoy. So it's comforting because I know I always have my job, right? I'm always going to have that paycheck. I'm always going to have that health insurance. I'm always going to have that work family that's going to be there. And, with COVID, it's a little bit different because COVID really hit the art industry, right? It really killed the design industry. I had so many friends that worked at Universal that lost their jobs, or, at Disney. And, it was tough because what do you do, and at that point, you're all kind of fighting for the same position. So, I would say, see what you want most, if you want to be a freelance artist and you want to control your own schedule and you want to pick your own projects and stuff like that, then you're really going to have to, grind at doing that, because it's a lot of work. You got to find clients, and it takes a long time to get those, contacts and relationships. Or if you want something that is always, you're going to wake up, you're going to go to work tomorrow, and you're going to have a paycheck every Friday or every other Friday, then do the commercial art industry, and you're going to have health insurance and all that. And you can always do freelance on the side as long as your contract allows it. That's what I do, and everybody, and my creative director supports it 100%. Don't work with the competition. Do not work with the competition. I can't stress that enough because you'll get fired. but you can do both, but it depends on what you prefer. Like I said, you may want to, stay up all night and work that way and then sleep during the day, or you may want to have a normal work schedule and have off weekends and stuff like that. It's just what you prefer. So it depends. If you want stability and you're worried about not having a job every 6 months or whatever, I would suggest going the commercial art industry route.
So we've got one more question. Student
Yes,
wants
let's
to
hear it.
ask, and then we're gonna. Is that a giant Monsters Inc?
Yeah, I work at Universal, so I can't show that.
Okay, all right. No.
But yes, so go on my Instagram, go on my Twitter, you'll see all my toys. It's my art, my social media is half art and design, half toys that I collect. So I share a little bit of both if you want to see more. But
I've seen some of your
there's a little sneak peek of them. Yeah,
That's
and don't worry, Mike is down here too. You just can't see him.
Okay, all right. So one question.
So for the contract, like how do that, like would you hire a lawyer or someone to like decipher contract?
Okay, so the question from this student is, as far as like the contracts that you sign, their question was, do you hire a lawyer to decipher the contracts for you, or how do you I guess negotiate or whatever the
well, for a commercial job, you really don't have a choice.
You don't.
It's kind of like if you say, hold on, let me call my lawyer, they're going to say, okay, who else did we interview for this position? Get them in there. This guy's going to be a pain, he's going to be a thorn in our side. So no, for that. And let me tell you, I wanted to work for Universal so bad. It's all I thought of. Prochnow, I can tell you this. I did everything in my portfolios. How am I going to get back to Universal? So when I got there, I was like, where's the pen and where do I sign? Like kind of like that. And you'll be in that position too if you get your dream job. Freelance, totally different story. You are going to want to read that thing 1,000 times, have other people read it 1,000 times. And, if you have a lawyer friend, it wouldn't hurt showing it to them. I've done that as well. Or, show your instructor and they can tell you. But I wouldn't recommend going to a commercial job and asking for a lawyer.
Thanks. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming and talking. I appreciate it very much, and I'm sure the students do too. So thank you.
Of course. Hey guys, and like I said, feel free to reach out to me. I'll have Prochnow give you my information. You can send me an email whenever you want. You can follow me. You can send me a direct message on social media. Is more casual for you. Feel free to do that. LinkedIn, whatever you want. I'll be happy to answer any questions. It was my pleasure talking to you. I wish you nothing but success. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys. See you later. See you in the parks.
All right.